Agreeableness is one of the primary traits described by the Big Five personality model, which is the most famous and most widely accepted personality model in psychological circles within academia. People who are high in agreeableness are described as being kind, sympathetic, cooperative, warm, generous, and considerate. When they interact with others, they tend to strive for harmony and care about other people, hence they come across as very warm and nice to be around. On the other hand, people who are low in agreeableness or who score low in agreeableness tend to be perceived as unfriendly, suspicious, competitive, uncooperative, lacking empathy, or even selfish. In other words, the opposite of people who are highly agreeable. Now, when you think about those traits, you might automatically think that in a career, being highly agreeable would make you more successful because you would be able to be a better team player and work more with other people, and you'd be able to get them to cooperate and you'd have harmony. But actually, this is not the case. It is a bit counterintuitive, but people who are low in agreeableness or highly disagreeable tend to be more successful in their careers. In this video, I'll explain briefly why that is the case and then lay out the case for agreeable people. So the first reason why disagreeable people are more successful in their careers is that unlike agreeable people, they are not afraid of conflict. See, one of the key aspects of agreeableness is striving for harmony, which generally means agreeable people avoid conflict. In a really good book, The Founder's Dilemmas by Noam Wasserman, it's an academic study about startups and entrepreneurship. And as the name suggests, The Founder's Dilemmas, he speaks a lot about the different juncture points that a startup faces in its development. So the choice whether to take on external investors or how many partners to have or how to do the equity split. And so there are so many juncture points where important decisions need to be made. And one of the key findings of this book is that people who procrastinate making those decisions tend to harm the success of their startups. Whereas people who face those decisions head on tend to be more successful. However, it's really difficult to face a decision, especially a very difficult decision or a high conflict or high negotiation environment, if you are highly agreeable, because that becomes very difficult emotionally and you tend to want to avoid that conflict. And so the first reason why disagreeable people are more successful is that they're not afraid of conflict or negotiation, both of which are essential to succeed in a career, and especially in startup environments. The second reason why disagreeable people are successful is because they know exactly what they want. If you ask a disagreeable person, what do you want? They'll be able to tell you at the drop of a hat without much concern. But if you ask an agreeable person what they want, they find it very difficult to say what they want. Often they themselves are confused about what they want. And the core reason is because they're focused most of their time on what other people want and trying to give other people what they want, and therefore having a kind of reciprocal liking arrangement where I like you, you like me, and you get what you want. But in order to succeed in a career, you really need to know what you want, or else you won't have a vision to know what to strive towards. Finally, disagreeable people, the third reason why they are successful is that they know when to say no, and they're good at disagreeing. As the name suggests, disagreeable people tend to be more willing to disagree and more willing to say no. One author suggests that in the business space, having a not to-do list might be more important than having a to-do list, because that represents a certain level of discipline and intellectual understanding of the things that we should be doing and the things that we should not be doing. And so in order to not do those things or say no to those things that you deem distracting to your success, you have to be somewhat disagreeable and say, well, these things over here, they are going to distract us, so we're saying no to those things. Now, if you're agreeable and you're watching this video and you feel like, wow, disagreeableness is really awesome and those traits could be pretty useful, I have some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news is that whatever your nature is, you can't really change it. If you find yourself being an agreeable person or agreeing with the statements I said earlier about being cooperative, warm and generous, etc., then you can't really change your nature. However, what you can do is embrace your nature and try to find careers that match that nature more closely. For example, agreeable people tend to do better in medicine or psychology or things that really require taking on other people's emotions. And the good news, however, is that even if you are agreeable, you can adopt some of the traits or tactics that I just spoke about earlier in your everyday business practice, which is the three things that I mentioned, that is to engage in constructive conflict and negotiation, spend time thinking about what you want, and learn to say no. All three of those things are accessible as tactics to agreeable people, but it's just a matter of adjusting yourself and preparing yourself emotionally to engage in those things. Possibly the easiest one is to spend time thinking about what you want, because that doesn't actually require you to have active conflict in real time with anybody else. Now, as an agreeable person, you may never find it perfectly natural to do those things, but you can emotionally prepare yourself, and that can soften the blow when you actually engage in those practices. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and thanks for watching.